first we need to go ahead and open up our Cloud Shell. And next we need to create our resource group. So what we're going to do is AZ group create, the name of our resource group and the location that's the nearest to us. So that'll be West. And the name of the resource group. I'm going to give it the name AZ400 AKS, Azure Kubernetes Services. Great. Next thing we need to do is create our AKS cluster. So let's go ahead. Now, just before you do that, I'm going to make the changes on Notepad because these codes are generic. So 400 AKS. So that's my resource group. And as you can see, you have your cluster. So my AKS cluster, you got a number of nodes, and then you're enabling the monitoring add-on, and you're generating SSH keys. So let's go copy and paste that to that. This will take a few minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. Now that has completed, let's maximize this. As you can see, this has completed, and it has created all of the necessary resources. It has also registered in Microsoft's container services for the Kubernetes. So let's go back to the bottom. First thing to point out is in order to manage your Kubernetes cluster, you would need to use a command called kubectl. Okay. However, if you're using Azure Cloud Shell, just like we are in this demo, we won't need to go ahead and install the kubectl command CLI interface. However, if you was to do this locally on your desktop or your PC or your laptop, you'll need to install it by going AZ AKS install CLI. Okay. However, we won't need to do this because we are in the Cloud Shell. Next, we need to configure the kubectl to connect to your Kubernetes cluster. So you need to use the AZ AKS get credentials command, and this command downloads credentials and configures the Kubernetes CLI to use them. So let's go ahead and try that. So as you can see, you got the AZ AKS get credentials, you got resource group. So ours is AZ400 AKS, and the name of the cluster is my AKS cluster. Okay, that's completed. Now let's verify that the connection to the cluster by running the following command: kubectl get nodes. Okay, and as you can see right there, we've got the AKS node pool, which is ready. It's an agent. It's only 3 minutes and 30 seconds old, and we got the version there as well. Now we need to create a YAML file named Azure-vote.yaml, and we're going to copy the YAML definition provided below. So let's go ahead and copy the definition. Okay, we need to create a file. So in order to create a file in Cloud Shell, the command is vi. And as you can see right there, you can start typing. So we're now going to go ahead and paste the command, the YAML definition file that we got from our skill pipe. As you can see, you got the API version. So this is the version 1. We got the type of the kind, which is a deployment. You've got the name, you've got the number of replicas. As you go along, you got more information such as the container, so the name of the container, the image of the container, and how much resources this container requires. So as you can see, you're requesting for 100 for CPU, and you're requesting for 128 for memory, and you're giving it a limit of 250 and 256. You're creating a port 6379, and you're giving it a name Redis. Okay, and this pattern is similar and used throughout the whole script. So as you can see, you've got your kind there, you've got your meta name there, you've got the ports, etc., etc. So next we need to go ahead and save that. So the command you need to use to exit and save the file is WQ. Okay, so when you press escape after this, you have to put this colons, type WQ. So W will save it and Q will let you leave the file. So if we go ahead, give it a sec. Okay, we need to give it a file name. So let's go ahead and do that. So WQ, and what was the name that is specified? We should give it Azure -vote. There you go. So we've created our file. Okay, so let's move on to the next stage, which is we need to deploy the application. So let's go ahead and do so. We've got kube CTL, and then we've got apply, and then the file name is azure-vote.yaml. Let that complete. Did not find key. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so let's go back into this file. Okay, let me have a look. For some strange reason, that set of code that was provided in your skill pipe didn't run. So I went ahead and recreated a separate file called Azure Vote1. So as you can see right here, we've got Azure Vote1. I just recreated it and went through the exact same step. And as you can see, it has created. So we have received our deployment and services was created messages. So as you can see right there, I don't know why this came because I was pressing a couple of buttons while it was deploying, but it should say deployment.apps. So it should say Azure Vote back created. It should give you a service Azure Vote back created. You should see deployment created, and you should see a service created again. Okay. So let's go to the next section, which is we want to see our services. So kube CTL. I'm just going to copy and paste actually. It's just going to be easier and quicker. So you've got kube CTL get services Azure Vote front, and then we got watch. Okay, so let's have a look. And as you can see, we've got our information. So we've got the name, we've got the type, which is a load balancer, we've got the cluster IP, and we've got the external IP. We've got the ports numbers, and then we've got the age of the file, or I should say the service. Okay. Next, we're going to go ahead and use the external IP. So when the external IP address changes from pending to actual, the public IP use copy and stop the kubectl watch process. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And as you can see, when you press Control C, it will stop the process and you'll be able to get your command line up again. Let's go into this external IP address, and we're going to see as you can see, we've got our services right there. So once we go into there, you can see your app has been deployed and it is reachable via the external IP address. Next, we need to go ahead and view our AKS cluster within the Azure portal. So let's go to our resource group, our AKS resource, my AKS cluster that we created. We need to go to monitoring and select our insights. Okay. As you can see here, this is the overview. So you got your status, the location, resource group, the API service address, and the Kubernetes version, along with the number of node pools. Okay. Now let's go to the monitoring insights. Now what we need to do is we need to have a look at the add filter option. And from the add filter options, we've got our node, we've got our namespace, and we've got our node pool. We are going to go ahead and select our namespace, and we're going to use all but kube system as our option. Okay, let's go to our containers. We can view our containers here. So you've got the reports, you've got the nodes information, you've got the controller, and then you've got the container. And as you can see right there, these are the two containers that we've created. We've got Azure Vote Back 1 and 2, and let me just go into it. And as you can see, you've got more information here. So the namespace, the image tag, the start time, the finish time, CPU request, CPU limit, memory limit, etc., etc. Okay. So as you can see, this is how we go about creating our Azure Kubernetes services, and we have successfully deployed our Azure Vote application.